So, someone asked me recently, what is the difference to you between a game and a sport, and why do you refer to League of Legends as a sport? Which is a great question. And I'm not a fan of super strict definitions, but one thing I like to think about is how much of the activity is thought based versus execution based. So, for example, we can think about chess, where the difference between knowing what you want to do and executing it is typically not that large. You might have a fine motor disability that makes it hard for you to move the pieces or something like that, but generally speaking, the challenge of chess comes from knowing what to do. At the other end of the spectrum is something like a track race. And there is strategy to a track race, I'm sure, even though I don't really know what it is. But I think we could also generally agree that the goal of the race is pretty simple. And even though there are nuances of how you want to run, what differentiates great track runners is in their execution. So, with that in mind, let's look at one aspect of how League falls onto the more sports end of the spectrum. So, one of the things that makes League more like a sport is that it happens in real time. You don't take turns. And beyond that, there are some very critical timing issues in League, just like in a lot of other sports, where doing something a half second too early or a tenth of a second too early can mean the difference between a great play and a botched play. So, this is the character I'm going to be using for this example. His name's Galio. He's the big gargoyle guy. I'm going to introduce you to some of his abilities just so you can get a sense of what they look like before we jump into the action. Galio has a ton of cool abilities, but the first one we're going to focus on is his ultimate ability, which is called Hero's Entrance. And it allows him to jump up in the air and then come smashing down onto the ground on top of an ally, and it knocks up any enemies around. So here I hit the R button, here comes the Hero's Entrance, jump up, pound the ground. The next ability I'm going to use is Winds of War. I hit the Q button and throw out that little gale that deals damage. So those are the two main abilities that you're going to be looking for from Galio. The character that I'm going to be attacking in this example video is Morgana. You can see her here. And she has an important ability where she hits the 1 key and activates Zhonya's Hourglass, which while she's golden like that makes her invulnerable. And Zhonya's Hourglass lasts for exactly 2.5 seconds. So here are the abilities again. The Hero's Entrance is how I'm going to enter the fight. The Q is how I'm going to deal the damage. And then also we're going to be watching for Morgana's Zhonya's Hourglass activation. So here comes the actual fight. You can see Morgana running away and my teammate with the blue health bar. I use Hero's Entrance to come in. Morgana's going to activate her Zhonya's Hourglass to become invulnerable to damage. My teammate has to run away. I'm going to throw out the Winds of War. Just as the Zhonya's Hourglass ends, the Winds of War is going to connect, and I'm going to get a kill on her. We're going to see it again slower. I'm going to highlight the characters so you can see it a little bit more easily. Comes the Winds of War. Watch right as it ends. Winds of War connects. And then lastly, I'm going to show it to you at full speed so you can see how it really looked to me during the game. So what I showed you is not an amazing skill that I have that makes me unique among players. Many players who have played as much as I have will be able to accurately estimate the timing of Zhonya's Hourglass like that. I just wanted to show you in order to demonstrate that similar to how the timing of your jump is important if you're trying to block a shot in basketball or the timing of other actions in sports, timing plays a really crucial element in League. And so it's one of the many areas where even if you know what you want to do, which is hit someone with your ability after their invulnerability ends, the difference between knowing that and executing it properly can still be a big gap if you're not very in tune with the timing of the speed of your projectile and the timing of their invulnerability. So that is one example of how League falls more into the sports category than the game category.